Hi, welcome to another tale from the Magic Story Cauldron. This is one of my favourites, absolute favourites. It's an Arthurian tale, and it is the story of Sir Gawain and the Loathly Lady. One evening, as King Arthur's court were gathered in the great hall, awaiting to begin the grand feast that lay before them, they heard a great clattering of hooves outside, and a moment later the doors of the great hall burst open, and a lady dressed in glowing crimson, riding a stately mare, galloped into the hall. "I seek King Arthur. I am in dire need of his help." The king answered, "I am Arthur, and if I have the power, I shall grant any request you make of me." The lady bowed her head. "I am Lady Modron. My husband is held captive by the Black Knight. Only King Arthur can save my husband. Will you come with me?" Arthur rose from his chair. "I will come, lady," he answered. "My lord, no!" Sir Gawain cried. Gawain was Arthur's nephew, the most loyal and beloved of all the knights. "Let me come with you, sire. If you need help, I will be there." Arthur granted his nephew's request, and then he and Gawain rode out with the Crimson Lady into the forest. After travelling for 3 days and 3 nights, they came at last to a grey castle nearly surrounded by black swirling water. The castle's drawbridge rose. Arthur and Gawain saw a tall knight dressed in black armour standing at the entryway. At the sight of Arthur and Gawain, the Black Knight began to laugh. The sound echoed on the dark lake. "Ha ha ha! Well done, wife," he said. "You have brought me the king. Prepare to die. Arthur, my sorcery will end your life." Arthur and Gawain turned to look at the Lady Modron. The Crimson Lady laughed too. "The Black Knight is my husband, grown so mature. He is master of this place, and now he is master of you." Gawain felt a chill run down his spine. "Sir," he said, "sorcery is no weapon for a noble knight. Meet me with your sword." "I do not need sorcery," Gromer cried. "My wits are enough. Listen, I shall give you a riddle. If you solve it, return here in a year and a day with the correct answer, and I will spare your life. But if you fail, I will take your head in payment. Now, listen closely, Arthur. This is the riddle. What is it that women most desire?" Arthur and Gawain turned and rode away into the forest. They looked back and saw a thick mist rising from the lake, hiding the castle from view. For the whole of the next year, Arthur and Gawain rode the length and breadth of England, asking everyone they met, rich and poor, old and young, what it was that women most desired. Some said women wanted man. Some said women wanted children. Some said women wanted idleness. Some said women wanted work. Some said beauty. Some said adoring. But none of the answers seemed quite right. At last, the year was coming to an end. Arthur and Gawain turned sadly to ride back to their meeting with the Black Knight. They had stopped to let their horses graze in a clearing just beyond the dark, deep lake, when suddenly behind the trees a voice called out to them. "I know the answer Gromer seeks." They looked up as a lady covered in a thick veil stepped from behind the trees. "Arthur," she said, "if you promise me your knight's hand in marriage, I will give you the answer you seek, for I know it." Arthur gave his consent. And at that point she lifted her veil, and Arthur, who had seen many ugly things in his life, gasped out loud. The woman had a balding head, plastered with bits of wispy grey hair. Her skin was covered with purple warts. She had a huge bulbous nose, and her eyes seemed but empty sockets. She smelled revolting, disgusting. She smelled of mould, and she cackled monstrously. Then she whispered to Arthur the answer to the riddle. "Now, Arthur, take me up behind you and let us ride to Groma so mature," she said. "No," Arthur cried. "I cannot ask my knight to marry you." But Gawain leaned forward and pulled her up onto his own horse. "You have given your word, my lord. Now let us be off." As they approached the castle, they saw the Black Knight standing, just as the year before, at his gate. The Crimson Lady leaned out of the tower, a mocking smile on her face. King Arthur sat straight upon his horse. With a heavy heart, he looked up at the Black Knight. "Sir," he said sadly, "the greatest desire of women is to rule over men." The Lady Modron screamed. The Black Knight's face grew as dark as his armour, and without another word he turned and rode into his castle. Arthur and Gawain watched as once again a thick mist rose and the castle vanished. Now, the lady behind Gawain laughed. "Our bargain is accomplished, Arthur. Let us return to the wedding." "Oh, anything but that," Arthur cried. "I shall give you land and gold, but not my nephew. He is the joy of my heart." "My lord Gawain." "My lord," Gawain said softly, "this damsel has saved your life. I must be honourable. Let our marriage be proclaimed." And with that he turned his horse and they rode back to the court. Word spread quickly through the court that the gracious Gawain has to take a wife. Everyone came running to offer garlands to the bride, but when they saw the woman, they dropped their flowers at their feet. "Come, there is to be a wedding," Gawain cried, and at last Arthur arranged for the wedding to take place. The wedding was silent and sorrowful. Only the bride was full of cheer. As evening fell, she turned to Gawain and said, "Husband, let us go to our chambers." Gawain rose and gave her his arm. When they reached their room, she said, "Now that we're married, will you kiss your wife?" Gawain turned and looked at her. In her eyes he saw pain and sorrow, and feeling deep tenderness for her, he kissed her. In that moment, the lady shuddered and her warty skin dropped away. A moment later, a lovely woman with fresh, peachy, beautiful skin and clear, dark eyes that shone with love stood before the stunned Gawain. "My husband," she cried, "I am Lady Ragnall. My sister, Lady Modron, and her evil husband, Lord Groma, cast a spell on me and told me I would never find a true knight to love me. But you have broken the spell. Now I am my true self." She took Gawain's hand. "And now I have one more request to make of you, my dear husband. I cannot always keep this form in which you see me. I can either be beautiful by night in our chamber when only you will see me, or beautiful by day when others will see me. It is your choice. Gawain's heart swelled with love. My dearest, he said, whatever you wish, I accept. You are the one who suffers. At that, Gawain's bride glowed with joy. Oh, Gawain, my sister said if I found a man who pitied me, I could regain part of my former self. But she said I would never find a knight who would give me the power to make my own choice. Now you have broken the spell completely. I will be beautiful by night when we are alone together, and I will be beautiful by day when we are with others. From that day on, Sir Gawain and the Lady Ragnall lived together in great, great happiness. The story of Sir Gawain and the Loathly Lady. Bye for now. Another tale from the Magic Story Cauldron coming very soon.